Welcome to something to talk about.
Hi, welcome to Something to Talk About. My name is Taco, and we are covering Jonquil Darke again, right? The Serpent in Scarlet, the Scarlet Shadow. Both would make pretty good superhero names. If you're, I don't know, if you're coming up with a superhero, Scarlet Shadow sounds pretty cool. Just saying. And yeah, if you don't know what's going on, and if this is your first time here, hi, my name is Taco, and you can read this, spoilers for the A Song of Ice and Fire books and the Game of Thrones show, probably less compared to normal, but I do just kind of speak freely, spoilerific normally, so I might just drop a random tidbit here and there, so even if this character is not in any of the shows and takes place before them, you know, I've give me that safety net. Don't get mad at me. I covered Jonquil Darke in my first batch of characters I ever covered, and now that I feel like I'm better at this and I give a little bit more context, I'm covering Jonquil Darke again. I don't think I'm covering too much more than I did last time. I did go over those slides, and I absolutely did add some, but there just isn't a lot to this character in general. But still a really cool character. So let's just talk about Jonquil Darke. Jonquil Darke, known as the Scarlet Shadow, was a noblewoman from House Darke, born a bastard daughter of Lord Darklyn of Duskendale. Jonquil Darke, known as as I already said, was the first known Darke, right? So, being a bastard daughter of Lord Darklyn, it is possible that she is the founder of the house. Alternatively, the house may have been founded by a potential sibling of hers. Yeah, so she is a Darke, and we know that the Darks still exist. We don't know what their sigils are or anything, but we know that they still exist. But since it is specifically said that she is a bastard of the Lord of Duskendale, a Darklyn, she must be the first Darke, right? That makes the most sense. Or maybe a sibling of hers, but yeah, so that's pretty interesting. So let's talk about House Darke, but as I just said, there isn't really too much. So I'm also going to be talking about Duskendale here. So House Darke is a house from the Crownlands. They are said to be distant kin of the extinct Darklands of Duskendale. So we're going to talk about, I said Duskendales. So House Darklyn of Duskendale is an extinct noble house, which ruled the town of Duskendale and the surrounding lands. The Crownlands for centuries there keep the Dunfort is atop the hill that dominates the town of Duskendale, right? The lordly Darklands are now extinct as a result of the defiance of Duskendale, although they are related to the Darks, the Darkwoods, the Dargoods. They are still alive and in the town. So yeah, if you travel to Westeros, right, and then you go to Duskendale, you're going to run into some Rikers, but since the Darklands themselves are extinct, but they're like offshoots. The Dargoods, the Darks are still walking around. And that's Jonquil from. So yeah, pretty interesting little thing there. So let's talk about the War for the White Cloaks. So this is right when we're jumping in. So yeah, as I'm about to say, this is 49 AC. So this is our story takes place during the rule of King Jaehaerys I. So the fourth Targaryen king, right? Grandson of Aegon the Conqueror. So yeah, it's about when this takes place. So she's got to come in towards the beginning of his rule, and yeah. So the War for the White Cloaks is the maester's name for the tourney melees held during the Golden Wedding of Queen Regent Alyssa Valerion to Rhaegar Baratheon in 59 AC. So that was the queen's mom, which is Alyssa Valerion, who was married to the king. Did I say the queen's mom? Well, that too. The king and the queen were sister wives, or sister and brother and sister, siblings. That's the word I'm looking for. And their mother was Alyssa Valerion, and their dad was Aenys Targaryen, but Aenys dead, right? So she's the queen regent during his regency for the first few years, and that's when this takes place. And the hand of the king is Rhaegar Baratheon, who was his fiercest supporter and got Jaehaerys, or helped Jaehaerys take the throne. So wedding the Queen Regent with the hand of the king is an extremely powerful wedding, and it's giving Rhaegar a lot of power here. So just keep that in mind. But this is just there, right? So that's not everything that's going on at the Golden Wedding. There's some more stuff. So because there were 5 vacancies in the Kingsguard after young King Jaehaerys I succeeded his uncle Maegor on the throne, Queen Regent Alyssa Valerian suggested that her son award White Cloaks to the champions of the tourney, which would follow her Golden Wedding, right? Because there's going to be this huge tourney. So Jaehaerys decided that the contenders would fight on foot instead of jousting, as foes seldom attack the king on horseback. Yeah, I don't know of any king that got killed by a lance. I mean, in the real world, they're probably not. I haven't met one. I don't know. But somebody's going to be like, yeah, the King Lewin of the Wales. All right, that's sweet, dude. What he's saying is, no, we should award it to the people of the melee because that shows more martial skill than jousting. Jousting is extremely hard and you need a lot of skill, but jousting doesn't translate to combat as much as a melee translates to combat, right? That's what young old King Jerry is trying to say. The tourney lasted 7 days with the jousting tilts overshadowed by the wild melees in bloody duels. Hundreds of knights competed with axe, spear, and sword for the honor of serving the Kingsguard. A slender mystery knight known as the Serpent in Scarlet fought hard and had a small following. Yeah, people got behind the mystery knight. When he was eventually defeated and unmasked, they found out that he was a she, and she is a changeling. Wait, no, that's Clone Wars. No, he was a she, and that she was Jonquil Darke. So yeah, so Jonquil dressed it up in scarlet armor, face covered as a mystery knight, and was doing pretty good in the melee, enough that everyone was like, yeah, Scarlet Serpent or Serpent in Scarlet, woo! And then somebody knocked down, and then just like, luchadors, when you beat a luchador, you want to rip their mask off, if that's the kind of fight it is, a mask for mask fight, right? Wrestling. And rip it off, and everyone's like, oh, that's what Rey Mysterio looks like. Okay. But this case, it's not Rey Mysterio, it's Jonquil Darke. And everyone's like, whoa, that was a girl this whole time? Yeah, glass ceiling be damned, yo. Where was I at? Yeah. She became a great favorite with the small folk, and she stood alongside some of the other colorful favorites, such as Sir Willem Stafford, who's Keg of Whale, who I have covered. If you want to hear about a chubby, wasted knight in this battle, go check out Keg of Whale. Go check out my Willem Stafford video. It's pretty fun. And then Sir Tom the Strummer, who I believe was the Bard of Flea Bottom. None of these would earn a White Cloak. Now, the weird, colorful, as they say, but kind of odd favorites like the Serpent and Scarlet, Keg of Whale, the Bard of Flea Bottom. The small folk got behind them, but none of them won. You need the cloaks. I don't have a list of everyone who won a cloak, but check it out, man. War for White Cloaks. That's Jaehaerys Kingsguard is amazing. Okay, so in 51 AC, so now we're getting to Queen Alysanne's Sworn Shield. In 51 AC, King Jaehaerys and good Queen Alysanne took their first royal progress. Jaehaerys planned to travel the Crownlands. Then to the Vale of Arryn. Queen Alysanne Targaryen accompanied him while she was pregnant with their first child, Prince Aegon, right? The royal couple visited Stokeworth and then Rosby and Duskendale and then Maidenpool. In Duskendale, Alysanne, I just have this in because I find it really interesting, held the first ever women's court because she used to kind of get chicks together, no men, right? And then be like, so, how horrible is it for you? And they're like, still the Middle Ages, still pretty bad to be a woman. And she's like, yeah, anything I can do? And they're like, well, you're a woman, so probably not. But yeah, it kind of goes like that for a little while. And then eventually it's like, they're going to stop the right of the first night. And that somehow is like, they're overstepping. They don't want to be attacked and assaulted on their wedding nights. Come on. Oh, the Middle Ages. That's awful. Oh, man. All right. Where was I? In Duskendale, she held her first women's court. Yeah. But while the queen was bathing in Jonquil's pool, in Maiden Pool, right, she became the victim of an assassination attempt by 3 fanatical septas. Alysanne survived unscathed thanks to 2 people who were with Septa Edith and Lady Prudence Celtigar, or 3, and Lady Rosamund Ball. So they actually kind of got chopped, like cut up a little bit. Like it was really bad because the septas, like, you know, like nuns for the Faith of the Seven, whipped out knives. Everyone was like naked bathing, and these 3 ladies were able to like stop it, but they got pretty badly hurt. It's a pretty scary thing. Like, I do feel like this is one of those Game of Thrones TV show things that if they ever do the reign of Jaehaerys, this would be one of those, like the end of the episode, everyone's like, oh, what the heck, and then do, or however they, you know, end it with the music at the end. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah, it's how you end an episode. So Alysanne survived unscathed. So yeah, the intervention of the Kingsguard, who were outside the door, not knowing the danger was actually within. So yeah, so that was the whole thing. The Kingsguards had to stay outside the door because there were men, and there's some places that men can't go. And that's why Jaehaerys, they figured this out. So Jaehaerys was furious, and Good Queen said she needed a protector who could accompany her where men can't go. So Jaehaerys sent a raven to Duskendale, commanding the new Lord Darklyn to send his bastard half-sister to court. Yeah, that's right, Jonquil Darke. Jonquil arrived in King's Landing a few days later and gladly accepted the position of Good Queen Alysanne's sworn shield and protector. In time, she became known as the Scarlet Shadow. So closely did she guard her lady. Yeah, there's a really big thing in this universe of calling guards shadows, right? Like, they use a lot of that same imagery for the Kingsguard a lot. So anyone who's kind of serving the king, there's a lot of shadow talk. I mean, I just want to toss that out there. If you want to connect it to some other grander theories about how it's the same imagery they use for the others, you can. But that's not what we're talking about. Jonquil Darke here. We're not talking about that. All right. A flight to Oldtown. Making my way to Oldtown. All right. The year 50 in the year 54, there you go, AC, it came to be known as, oh, see, there wasn't supposed to be an in. I should just read the sentence. Just read the cards. You're going to be wonderful, really. The year 54 AC came to be known as the Year of the Stranger due to the deaths and tragedies that befell House Targaryen and the 7 kingdoms as a whole. So when one of those tragedies, the High Septon, passed away in that foul year, Jaehaerys and Alysanne traveled to Oldtown upon their dragons to pay their respects and to influence the choice of the next High Septon. Yeah, were they really paying their respects? Or are they just going to influence an election because they're powerful and they don't want another Septon who, or like a High Septon who hates them? I mean, who knows, right? Hey, we're here to pay some respect, so who do we got to bribe to pay respects? Sure. All right. Where was I? They took 2 protectors with them. Yeah, they had to go fast, right? They had to get to Oldtown right away, so they couldn't take the whole retinue and take a whole army, and also that would probably look bad just marching with an army to Oldtown to then sway an election. So they just took 2 with them. Right, and that's Jonquil Darke and Joffrey Doggett. Same initials, I just noticed. That's interesting. So to balance the weight of the dragon, Jonquil rode with King Jaehaerys on Vermithor, while Joffrey Doggett of the Kingsguard rode with Alysanne on Silverwing. Okay, let's stop there for a second. That doesn't make any sense. What do you mean balance the weight? Like, you can just put 2 people on each dragon. They're not teeter-tottering. You don't need to balance the weight. You think Vermithor is going to be like, oh, you can't have 2 dudes on me. Can you put a girl on me too? No. What it is, we all know what it was. It was It was Jaehaerys not wanting to ride with Joffrey Doggett, like, hold on to him. That's what it was. He doesn't want a dude riding in the back, like, holding, like, you know what, who's going to be driving around on a motorcycle. They'll be switching up, too. Like, hey, can I have a girl back here? Just saying. And I think that's what it was, because it's so weird to be like, or maybe there was some weird swinging going on, but I don't think there was that. I don't think it was like, hey, bring the cute one. Joffrey Doggett. All right, cool. Do I get the red with Jonquil? I don't think it was that. I just think there has to be a reason other than balance, because that doesn't make sense. The Vermithor can handle 2 people. Like, what's the weight difference between Jonquil Darke and Joffrey Doggett? 50 pounds? Maybe more, but not that much. Like, maybe 60, but still. I think it's just because he doesn't want Joffrey holding on to his haunches. That's it. All right, moving on. So, Septim Elfin was who was one of the 7 preachers that championed the doctrine of exceptionalism. It was eventually chose. So that was the Septim that they sent out to do propaganda. Weird that he was the one that was picked. Okay, the guy who did propaganda for the king got picked. Weird. All right. White Harbor. So Jonquil traveled with Queen Alysanne when she went on a progress to the north in 55 AC. The royal retinue traveled in 3 ships to White Harbor before proceeding to Winterfell. The king and queen planned to make the great royal progress together, but Jaehaerys was delayed in King's Landing. Alysanne and the retinue went ahead without him. So tens of thousands of small folk came to see Alysanne and her dragon Silverwing in White Harbor, right? And a small tourney was staged in White Harbor by House Mannerly in the Queen's honor. One of the competitors was a wildling woman captured by the Night's Watch Rangers of the North and was given to one of Theomore Manderly's knights to foster, right? So this guy's like fostering like a captured wildling, like a spearwife, right? So impressed with the women's daring during this tournament, Alysanne had Jonquil Darke spar with her, and the 2 women dueled with sword and spear while the Northmen roared with approval. That's pretty cool. All right, that's pretty sweet. A few days after the tournament, Queen Alysanne convened a Southern-style women's court in Manderly's Hall, which more than 200 women and girls gathered to share their thoughts, concerns, and grievances with the queen. Yeah, I just, since we're talking about Jonquil, I figured just tossing some Alysanne stuff. So, all right. Let's keep going. Saera Targaryen. When the scandals committed by Princess Saera Targaryen came to light in 84 AC, so that's a bit of a jump, right? The last thing we saw was in 56, and I think she joined her in 51. Yeah, there we go. So from 51 AC all the way to 84. Wow, that's quite a while to be the sworn sword. So yeah, and the young princess was confined to her room. All right, so what am I talking about? So Saera Targaryen, and I'm going to make this extremely fast, was part of this huge scandal where a bunch of people got in trouble. Her, a bunch of dudes that she was hanging out with, and then her lady companions. There was some mingling, a lot of different minglings going on, and it blew up. Everybody got in trouble, and the main kind of dude was a Beesbury, who I've done a video for, Braxton Beesbury, and he is dueling the king. So yeah, it's a whole thing. Watch my Braxton Beesbury video if you need me to. So where was I? So yeah, so she was confined to a room only to escape to the dragon pit at one point, and then the king confined her to a tower cell with Jonquil guarding her day and night, even in the privy. Yeah, Jonquil Darke had to literally watch Saera Targaryen because she's just gonna run off and she's crazy. I love Saera Targaryen. When King Jaehaerys faced one of her lovers, Sir Braxton Beesbury, in a trial by combat, Jonquil made sure Saera watched from the window of her cell as her father slew him with Blackfire. It's a little messed up. I'm not a Stinger apologist by any means. That was the nickname of Braxton Beesbury. But making your daughter watch as you kill her sensual boyfriend is a little messed up there, Jerry. Bad parenting. Decent king, awful dad. That's it. I mean, could just like grounding her be fine? I don't approve of your boyfriend. We shall duel. What? I know it's more complicated than that. Not really. Jonquil of Darke. So we are done with her story. So now we're just gonna get to her little bonus thing here, and yeah, then we're done, and you'll be free to go. You'll just be free to leave. Jonquil Darke's name may be a reference to the warrior maiden Joan of Arc, right? Jonquil Darke, Joan of Arc. It kind of, right? But barely. The similarities end there. There's not a lot of similarities, right? Because Joan was a peasant and not a noble bastard. And she did not actually fight herself, but she served more as like a rallying point to carry the banner, and was also a religious figure, which Jonquil Darke is not, right? But the name, I guess, is what a lot of people point out here. I found a post on Westeros.org called Jonquil Darke, A Missed Opportunity by James Steller. More or less, so you can go read it if you want. But the small and skinny of it is that he finds it, I'm assuming they find it very surprising that this didn't set precedent in Westeros, and all the queens and ladies didn't get more female bodyguards. Also, it's odd that Brienne never mentioned a thing or thinks about her at all, since women who broke through the glass ceiling in the Middle Ages got mentioned in history books, negatively or otherwise, but they still got noticed or mentioned. Yeah, this is a female warrior who participated in a tourney, did really well, and then served a king to protect a queen for like 30 years. There's you would think that like when people are talking about those legendary knights from this era and even eras after this, you know, like your Ryan Redwines, your Aemon the Dragon Knights, characters like that, you think that somebody would bring up Jonquil Darke, because she did kind of break through a glass ceiling. She did kind of do something really cool like that. And at least maybe not the male like fighters, but you think Brienne would be like, you know, you're like Jonquil Darke, you know, or like, you know, or Catelyn, like, hey, you can serve me the way Jonquil did, you know, like, it is a little weird that she's not more of a mythical figure. Does that make sense? I think that's what they're getting at, and I do agree. So yeah, so be more like Jonquil Darke. So that's it. That's all we got. A very small character, but a very interesting character. I really like Jonquil Darke, and that's all I got. So thank you guys for watching. Click like and subscribe if you haven't. And yeah, what do you think? Peace.